actually talking about divorce and stuff like that, and he was like,
That's a fun topic.
"Oh God." Hey, we're live.
Hi.
Okay, so back with Chrissy again, of course, the one and only, right?
One and only.
So we were going to talk music, Taylor Swift and Kanye, and
Yeah, we're not
because
talking about that
be,
anymore.
because
I'll
of all
just
that
say it.
stuff,
Yeah,
I did listen.
absolutely not.
I did listen to a couple songs on a Taylor album, and they are pretty good.
The new one?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's actually talk about the new album. Yeah.
well,
I'm
well
obsessed with it. Like literally obsessed. Not anything like I expected, but oh my gosh. Let's talk.
she's come a long way for sure.
Yeah.
And I
Like
don't know if I can't look it up because my phone's doing this. I can't even look up the song. It's like Vigilante.
vigilante shit. Yeah. He
Yeah,
was doing
that's a cool.
lines while crossing all of mine. While I was, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I love. She's got
that's a pretty good song.
Oh, I love it. No, I love the whole album. Yeah, no, I can't stop listening to it and it's so good. I know I even asked I sent my little brother one of her songs and he was like, "Dude, I was vibing. That's actually a good song." And I think it was Lavender Haze is what I sent him and he's like, "No, that's actually really good." And I was like, "Listen to the album."
Well, googling, did I have to Google it, or you sent me the meaning of what lavender haze was? Oh, you sent me an article to I read what lavender haze was. I was like, oh God, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, there's a few theories on what because Taylor Swift fandom is
Yeah,
they're insane. Like I ended up having to leave a few groups because I was just like, I can't take this. I can't take reading about this. And it's just like anything and everything. Like, oh, she looked over to the left. So it means this. And it's like, I can't do this
oh
anymore.
God,
And then like Lavender Haze, like to me, that song is a real like empowering feminist, like and she's talking about the rumors that are said about like asking if her and her now boyfriend are gonna ever be married and how she's like, "No, dude, like, just stop talking about it and let me live. Like, let me enjoy my relationship." And I
yeah.
love that. Like, I'm all for that because I don't ever want to be married.
But isn't that regardless of how life should be? Let me live my life. Why do you have to put your influence on what you believe a relationship should be on my life? It's mine. Can
Exactly.
I enjoy it or not? You know what I mean?
Like, why is it everyone else's business?
And
Like,
that's
we
one
have
thing that I have
to.
noticed that, well, a lot of, I guess, celebrities and right, and it seems like a lot of celebrities have to deal with, oh, they're not living their life the right way. It's like, that's fine. That's just fine. Let them do what they're going to do. But that was going to be the original topic. Then I asked the question, can I talk or ask about your sexuality? And that led down a very crazy rabbit hole.
Yes, it did.
So, but well, I asked about if I could talk about your sexuality because I read an article and I wanted to ask you and talk to you about it. Now, how you said you labeled yourself as pansexual.
Yes, I identify as pansexual for my sexuality, and that
Now,
means
like I
that
said, I had to ask you what. Like I said, I had to ask what it even was because I don't really pay attention to a lot of that stuff. Because, like I said, your relationship's your relationship. You enjoy what you enjoy. More power to you, and you know what I mean. I just don't like to bother people, so I don't ever pay attention to the stuff. But the meaning was actually pretty cool because as society has evolved, I sort of now see why people have different labels of what their sexuality are. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you were going to describe what it was.
yeah, just for anyone that's not sure exactly what pansexual is, for me, what that means is that I don't fall in love with people over their bodies. I fall in love with the actual person. So any any type of person, if you're a good person, and I like you, I don't discriminate, I guess. Is one way to
Right,
put it.
right, and that's I guess because as we were growing up, I mean, we're only in our mid 30s, like
Hey, early
lesbian,
30s.
mid, early, whatever. I'm rounding down. I'm almost 40. But anyways, so like growing up, for me, I'm not, because it was different because you grew up in California. I was in Michigan. But I guess gay, lesbian, homosexual, like the first basic terms were just starting to come out, and people were still kind of negative about it. And now that we've grown up, it's become accepted. It's become, like marriage has become legalized. There's just been such big advances in all the different communities. Like I definitely see why people would need labels, I guess, or labels help just to get a better idea of who a person is or what they believe in.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I personally didn't come out or find my label I guess until about like 5 or 6 years ago, really honestly. I grew up in California, but with that, I also grew up in a real like religious upbringing. I would go to church 2 to 3 times a week. And it like for hours too.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of like shame with just being myself and who I was. Like I remember as a kid, like I'd ask the questions, but then I got labeled as the weird kid. Obviously, I'm still weird, and now I embrace it because I'm no longer religious. Because to me, all religion ever did for me was put me into a lot of shame, never allowed me to be the person I could be. So I really turned my back on it, and with that, I kind of rebelled, and thank God I rebelled because I think by rebelling, I was able to find myself and my limits and who I actually am. And a few years ago, I had another friend that identifies as pansexual, and then they were just talking, and I was like, are you just into everybody too? And they were like, yeah, I don't care. And I was like, is there anything like what do we call ourselves? And then they told me, and I was like, cool. And ever since then, that's how I now identify.
Gotcha.
And I
So,
just publicly recently actually came out because for me, I don't think it's ever, I don't like people like, why do I have to say it? But then after a while, like I do make jokes. I do use the umbrella term most of the time as gay, is how I'll just label myself because if you're not going to ask any further questions about that, like then you probably aren't somebody I should be with.
yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Okay, so at what age did you realize or start feeling, I guess things were, I guess, different? Like how I don't even know how to ask the question. Like, are there political correct ways of asking this to where it's not offensive? Or
So
is it all kind of offensive?
I think people put me in a box before I even knew what I was, or I could even identify. And I'm sorry if I like start crying because it's actually like real personal to me.
Or no, I bet.
I was bullied a lot. I have memories like blocked out, but it was something that came up where my somebody had asked me, they were like, people cornered you in a bathroom and asked if you were gay and if you were a lesbian. And I'm like, maybe that happened. I don't remember it. So I must have blocked it out. But that's how my childhood was, is like people identified me as gay before I could even identify
Around
myself.
uh, around what age did that start?
Shoot, probably like on the playground, like fifth or sixth grade, fourth or fifth
El,
grade. So
so
like,
elementary school.
so elementary school, I think, is when other
So
people started noticing that I
now,
might not have been different, but I also always felt different because everybody else would always have crushes on people, and I still don't have crushes on a lot of people.
so now I've always been curious, and I don't even know if there's science on this stuff. And a lot of people look at this, do it in different ways. Now, do you think, in your opinion, it's this learned behavior? It's just something natural in the body? Like, what do you think it stems from, especially at a younger age like that?
So I absolutely think it is just the person and who you are. And I honestly think that everyone's a little bit gay. Um, I always tell my mom that I joke with her. I say they don't make anyone straight under 40 anymore. They just make closeted people. And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, like honestly, like people fall somewhere on that gay spectrum. Like there's nobody that is absolutely just straight. Like, you look at a dude, if you like for you, if you look at another dude and you're like, I could appreciate that body, you're somewhere on that scale because you're not fully appreciating just one sex.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. I mean, that's a different way to put it. I've never heard it put that way. Just appreciating it, not even like, oh my god, I'm attracted to it, but like just the appreciation of it.
Exactly. And
That
that's how
makes
I
sense.
see it.
Oh, so the main reason I was asking you about this is I read an article. There were four. These girls are in elementary school. Four girls are friends. One of them decides that she's lesbian or likes girls. That's how basically the article was read. So the three other girls. Now this is in a very very religious area in the U.S. So the other three girls just distanced themselves because
Mhm.
they
That's
weren't.
how it was for me.
So they weren't sure they wanted to be around it, and it was weird. And of course, in a religious town, it's kind of frowned upon. So their parents were like, just stay away. Not stay away, but like if
No,
you're not
that's
comfortable,
literally
like
like that's what I
if
was told is like, "Oh, they're gay, stay away." Like I even as a kid was talked to about Disneyland and how we weren't going to go to Disneyland anymore because they had gay days. And
well,
being told that at like 6 and then knowing that I'm being called things on the playground like that and then growing up that way, like, that was scary for me, and it was shameful. It was
no,
real shameful to myself
but
that it
but
led me into a lot of depression.
look, but do you think if kids, it's very hard to, I guess, get into the topic because like at just say 9 or 10 years old, if your friends were to stay away from you, can you really blame them looking back? Or do you think that they should have been more opened to the
I mean,
idea? Like,
as a kid,
what's your thoughts?
you're gonna go with whatever's cool on the playground. So if everyone's pointing their finger and calling somebody a witch, like witch, 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 everyone's gonna join in. You're
So
gonna all annihilate that person because nobody like when you're put in settings to be a group, that's just what happens.
so on the story I was reading, the four girls, so the three girls kind of distanced themselves from the one girl. And when they would be on the playground or something, they would give themselves a secret hand signal to let the three know that the lesbian girl or whatever she was coming around. So they would kind of take off to avoid her. They never really did anything bad. They never did anything wrong, like as an actual harassment physically towards her. They just did what they thought, I guess, they should do to distance themselves. And then the lesbian girl said that she was going to kill the other three girls. Then she was going to kill herself. And it turned into this big mess to where the three girls are bullies and this other girl is a victim at that age of
Yeah,
9 or 10
absolutely,
years
she's a
old.
victim. She's absolutely a victim. Like, that is bullying when you no matter how you wanna look at it, bullying is grouping together and treating someone like shit, and
Right.
that's what they did at the end of the day. I don't blame anybody from how they treated me growing up because it's not my responsibility to give a shit anymore about
Right.
those people,
But
honestly.
can you 100% blame the girls for bullying if their programming was that is kind of wrong or kind of bad by their parents or by the church?
Well, what I don't understand is where was the teachers and like why didn't they notice that all of a sudden this kid had friends and then now they don't? Like that's something that
No,
you should bring home and talk to
you
your
would
kid
think.
about. But then you also have to look at that kid is what's going on in their home life because maybe
Well,
there's always more to the story.
right. Well, the parents of the three girls were never notified that, hey, your kid's even being bullied or your kid is being threatened to be killed by another student. The parents found out from other parents. So
I mean,
the
that's how
the
it
school,
happens. Like I didn't tell my parents I was being bullied.
yeah. But if
Like
the school system knew, but the parents were never involved to help reprimand their kids or correct the issue. Like the kids were going to school the next day knowing that this other little girl wants to kill them. And the school knew all about it, and nobody mentioned anything to the parents or anybody.
Well, that school needs to be sued and probably get their shit taken away because you said it's a private school, so it sounds about right. And that's
Yeah.
how religion is. Like, honestly, if you really want to get into it, I'll blame religion for all of that if it's a privately
Yeah.
run school.
Religion is a whole nother topic. And
If not, I'll just blame money.
like you said, how religion makes it harder for people, I guess, to express themselves and who they really are.
Well, there's a lot of shame that comes with it. In the church I was raised in, being gay was bad. Witchcraft was bad. So like I couldn't even read Harry Potter. Like
Really.
it was like yeah, it was like that. And then not to mention it was also like I'd consider it like a mega church because it was just always about money. Only like the cool kids ever got to go do actual like mission trips and things that actual churches did. And
Uh-huh.
like I've tried going to back to other churches, but for me, anytime I go back to church, like it's just I don't know, I feel like I dissociate from myself and I'm not even who I am when I
I can
go.
see that. Now, do you think it's all churches or just the ones that you've been to?
I think it's any organized religion because again, when you get groups of people together, people band together to dislike other people.
Yes, I do agree. It does have that village or cult feel to it. And what always confused me, so you have Christianity and you have different level, Old Testament, New Testament, Baptist, Pentecostal.
They
It's
all have the
all
same
it's
basic.
all right, but they don't. So you have Christianity, like your goal is to go to heaven, right?
I I
I
guess.
mean that's the goal, is to go to heaven because you don't want to go to hell. No matter what how you look at it, that's the goal, go to heaven. Every single denomination fights each other. They all hate each other. I've been to churches that
Yeah.
were like, oh yeah, the church down the road's garbage. They're all going to hell. Don't go there. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
It's
no,
like
that's literally how it is.
like
And it's I don't
Baptist or
understand.
like Pentecostals hate Baptist or Baptist hate Pentecostals. It's like
Baptist hate
what?
evangelists. Like,
It's like
yeah.
why? Like we're all going to the same place. Like once I started to hear that, I was like, okay, none of this makes sense. None of this adds up. And it's like you got people on like churches that'll stand on a corner and scream at people and harass people to believe in their way. It's like it's not, to me that's not how religion is
It's
supposed to go.
I just don't understand, like, I don't know. The way I view like Jesus Christ is as an embodiment of love and good. And I think that's like what religion tries to teach us who he is. And I don't understand why we can't take the lessons and apply those. So, like, for me, I try to approach everything with love and through calm. I- Now, with that being said, it doesn't always happen. There's
Right.
other parts of me that do come out. However, I do my best to try to approach everything much nicer and calmer because you attract more bees with honey than you do with shit. I think that's the saying.
Never heard it, but I mean it sounds about right.
It's something like that.
No, I understand what you're saying. I mean, because I mean, at the end of the day, that's just being. Isn't that what people now would consider spiritual?
Yeah, and that's exactly how I label myself as spiritual. Like for a long while I used agnostic, but then I didn't really believe that because I still do believe in other realms and other things. So for me, I believe in more spiritual and just being a better person while you're alive on this earth. Like, why am I going to live and limit myself from enjoying who I am to possibly die and just become a tree?
Right. No, I get it because it seems like, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen studies to that where people that believe in God or people that believe in religion, the numbers are declining and very quickly.
Yeah, they are. You want to talk about that? Astrology. Well, I don't
Is it?
really know. Yeah, I read something and I forget like what time era it is, but they say like every certain amount of years we switch. And right now we're actually transitioning from a known like religion religious time frame, and we're actually going into the more science for the next about 2000 years. Is we're going to
Really.
go more into science, planets, and things like technology, and I'm excited for it. Like we
I
about to
mean,
live like Wally.
because this is the stuff that I've never understood growing up or learning in school. So, like, religion says the
I hope we
world's
don't
like,
live like Wally. Sorry, I'm just kidding. That's, that was trash.
but like, religion says we're X amount of years old, and then like science says we're X amount of years old. So it's like, well, what are you supposed to believe? What are you supposed to think? What are you supposed to do? And then like we were taught evolution, that we evolved from apes. So it's like, okay,
See,
well, why aren't we still evolving then? Like, do we
see,
just
I
stop
think
evolution?
I don't. I see, and that's where I think time changes, science changes, we become more advanced as people, and I think that's like just insane to think that we evolved from something. I think that we've have always been here, and people have always they needed a reason when it came to religion to, I guess, wrap pea brains around is what I would say,
Mm-hmm.
because some people can't just conceptualize like, oh, we just existed. Like, and there's
But
other life. Like, I'm sorry, I believe that there's other life. Like, we're probably the dumbest life form, but like also, what if we weren't? What if we are the smartest life form?
oh God, if we are the smartest to
Like,
ever just survive, there's a problem.
that's like literally sometimes I just like smoke and I just can't even wrap my brain around like what if we are
So,
like honestly, what if we are the like smartest life form?
hmm, what do you mean? There's a very limited amount of actual smart people amongst us, as it is, though. Like high IQ, actually intelligent people, or what? A point zero zero
And
zero one of the population.
I think society views intelligent people differently and incorrectly.
As in which way?
I don't think like the way that we all grew up, like speaking for American traditional school system, I don't think that fosters and invite and raises people's brains to actually develop properly. Like for myself, I'm not necessarily book smart. Like I don't care to learn all that. But you give me something with technology and tell me to learn everything about it, like, I'm gonna, like, learn everything I can about it, and that's just how my brain works, but I'm also ADHD, and I think that growing up, for being ADHD, it was really hard to succeed in school, and it was always something that people thought I was dumb or lazy, but it's no, if I'm not being challenged, I get bored and I'm not going to waste my time with it. And that's what my mom, like my mom, I remember her fighting like schools about it. Like, no, put her in better classes. Like, if you don't put her in something that she enjoys or that she doesn't feel challenged, like, she ain't going to even show up. And she was right. Like, I just stopped showing up at certain points of school because I was just like, I'm not, I'm wasting my time here.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I
I
can learn
think.
so much more from the internet. And that's when I ended up getting a computer in my room. And when I learned how to start reading things on the internet.
I mean, I think the school system needs to be completely redone, anyways. I mean, the school system, from what I've heard, a lot of, I guess, people way smarter than me say, it was put together for to basically create worker ants, go work in
Mhm.
factories, blah blah blah. Well, we are no longer in a what do you call that?
Industrial?
Industrial society. Now we're in a technological society. How are we teaching these kids how to do this technological stuff?
They're
I mean,
not.
are we? We're not. We're setting all these poor kids up for failure.
Like, I remember, like, in school, like, I had access to computers at school at a pretty young age, but I think that's due to living in California. Apple's based out of California, so I think we
Yeah,
got put out Apple products were put into our hands at such, like, young ages that
but it was still limited compared to what it should have been.
I don't know, like, I learned a lot, like, by 7th
Really.
grade about a computer. Like, I was learning computer science by, like, 7th grade, like, they were teaching us, like, how to break down computers, like, almost, because that's what I remember in
Huh.
school. But
Really.
my school was really cool when it came to the computer stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it must be a little different than when I grew up because I went. The majority of my schooling was inner city Detroit, And even when I moved to a suburb for the last 2 years of high school, there wasn't much there.
Yeah, I want to say in seventh grade, our year was the first year with the new computer lab. And for some reason, every year that I went to school, I got like a new computer lab or something new technology wise in
Really?
our school. And I honestly, looking back, I think it was Apple. Like, I think Apple was putting money into the school systems to, to make us consumers at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they got one heck of a tax break as well, but
I mean,
because I mean
what's a tax
everything,
break at that point?
well,
That much money.
everything you own right now is Apple, isn't it?
My phone's Apple, my computer's Apple.
You got an Apple Watch.
I do have an Apple Watch.
Exactly. I mean,
I have 2 iPads.
once you get into Apple, you're not leaving ever. They suck you in.
They're so much better. They're just
Well,
like, I think they're better. I love them. I can't stand PCs anymore.
no, I agree 100%. But Apple has found a way to make your life easier. Everything you do, your life is easier because of those things.
Mhm. 100%.
Only thing
My
that gets
Apple Watch, this this is responsible for this and just honestly making me healthier. Like,
oh yeah.
ever since I've had it, it's just propelled like from where I was fitness wise to where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel odd if I don't wear my Apple Watch and track my workouts and calories and heart rate
I'll
and
come
the
back
time.
home if I forget my watch. Like, if I leave it on the charger and I go like this to go turn it on, like when I get there and I'm just like, gotta go back, gotta go get my watch.
It's addictive. It's very addictive.
Well, I'm not gonna put in the work and not get tracked for it.
That as well.
I'm all for rewards here.
I like just the daily calories, like how many calories you've burned throughout the day to keep that at a certain number as well.
See, for me, I like it because it helps me track my actual workouts that I'm doing. And like, I forget. So like, I'll forget my rest days and which days I took off. So like, if I want to do like a certain amount in a certain days or whatever, like I have to go back and look at my watch because I'm like, oh, which days did I do this? How long has it
The,
been
o-
since I've done this workout?
the only crazy part about Apple is when somebody calls you, your watch, your tablet, your phone, and everything goes off at once.
Well, that's
The
because
whole
you have it set up
the
that way.
the whole damn house sounds like it's blowing up, and I can't find anything.
Turn off your settings. Fix that.
No, then I don't want it's work.
One thing I love and hate about my watch is ever since I've had my watch, I cannot tell you how many times I've been like, where the fuck is my phone? And I have to like go search for it because if it's on my watch, like
Why don't
I
you?
don't
But
stress about my phone being like on me anymore because I
yeah, but
have my watch.
slide up and ping your phone off the watch. Then you don't
I
have to
mean, I
search for
could
it.
do that. I could do that, but then it makes noises and I don't like noises unnecessary.
See, I forget that you can ping your phone. I've
I
I've
think
spent
about it.
I've spent a
I
long time looking for stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could have just pinged it.
I hate it. I hate the noise it makes where it's like ding, 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 like and then if I
No,
can't
they
find it,
it's changed. The noise has changed. Have you done it
oh,
recently?
no, no, it's been a long
Like
time.
the within the past 3 weeks or month, I've noticed that sound has changed.
So it's probably the new update. I just updated it this morning, or I saw
I
that it
don't
was
know.
updated.
I don't know. I did get the which iPhone do you have?
11 Pro Max.
Ooh, living vicariously, old school,
Oh, I'm not getting a new one, dude. Like,
dude. The new one's
I'm so
awesome.
cheap right now. Like, I just literally dug myself out of the biggest financial hole, and I'm just so excited to finally like have money and be able to save things. And I was looking at getting the 14, but I also have this thing, and it's like a little weird niche I guess I've created with the iPhones. I've only have ever owned the odd ones. So I feel
Really
like if I get the 14, like why would I do that? I'm just gonna break
makes
my
sense. So, I just got the 14 Pro Max, and I upgraded my watch to the 8. I guess that's the newest one. My phone bill is now cheaper by like $75 a month now that I upgraded because they gave me so much money towards the old ones that
Yep.
it lowered my bill.
Yeah, and see, here's my other thing is I could either just save for a few months and then just buy the phone outright and then I don't have to pay for it monthly on my phone bill, and that's kind of what I want to do because at the end of it, like you're just spending so much more when you do payments.
It's insane. Now,
Hmm.
do you think you could ever go back to an old flip phone?
If it was an Apple product, maybe.
I mean, no touch screen, just a basic flip phone. Do you think you could ever go back to that?
No, absolutely not.
I don't think I could either.
And
It's
I
too.
can't do
It's
it. The whole buttons with like, I don't know if you guys remember where you used to have to click like 3 or 4 times
yes.
or like my thumbs hurt from that, from rolling. Like my hands hurt, man, from hair, everything.
it would be.
Bartending.
It would be super interesting to see. Well, you used to cut hair too, right?
Mhm.
I can only
I've done
imagine how that would
everything
destroy
to
it.
these hands.
I can only imagine how that would destroy your hands.
My hands now like will randomly sometimes just like lock up and then my hand just goes like and it's like a claw and it just freezes. And I've told my doctors and they don't think anything's wrong, but
But now I don't
yeah,
know. Carpal tunnel doesn't do that though.
I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
not
think
a
it causes.
doctor.
I don't think it causes it to like lock up, just go numb all the time.
I don't know. If I look it up on WebMD, I have cancer, so
Yeah, WebMD when you are sick is, oh god, it's the devil.
don't
It
ever
will
do.
it will make you think there's so much wrong with you.
I'm already like a hypochondriac that like if I if I feed that wolf in me, like I will worry everybody around me and tell them all like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die." And then I'll call my mom and then I'll tell her and then she's worried. And then I'll just be fine. And then I need to call my mom back to let everyone else know I'm not dying. The life of Chrissy. But it hasn't happened in a long while. I don't think I've diagnosed myself with anything in a long while.
Well, now that you're starting to lose, you've lost quite a bit of weight. How has all that kind of stuff been though? Like, have you noticed any differences between from previous health issues that you had?
So for me, like one big thing is my stomach doesn't hurt anymore, or not as bad, I should say. And it's one of those things that I don't think when you're eating like shit and you're not taking care of yourself that you even notice that your stomach's hurting or that it doesn't feel right. But one thing I tell, I forget who I was talking to the other day, but they're like, "Oh, I'm so tired." I'm like, "If you eat right, you won't be tired after eating." And
Yep.
they were just like, and then I was like, "That's kind of a jerk thing to say that I shouldn't have said that."
But
But
it's
it's true.
true. It's very true.
It's very true, but you don't need to tell people that in regular conversation. That's just mean.
But that's the crazy part what you just said. And I think it's I hate it for a lot of people, but people do not realize how bad they feel. Like they feel absolutely shitty, but they fucking think it is normal.
You just
It's like,
don't realize it. Like for my entire life, I didn't realize I was having stomach issues or I couldn't sleep right, uh, or that I was snoring. Like snoring is a big one for me.
uh-huh.
When I'm heavy, my allergies get really bad. I mean, my allergies are always bad, so that's kind of dumb. But I snore, my respiratory gets really bad the heavier I am. And I don't know if
Mm,
that's also just from being a cigarette smoker for so many years that when I'm overweight, maybe there's something to do with that.
I'm sure there's a contributing factor there.
Has to be.
But like I'll eat with people, family will cook and go eat with family, and I'll eat the meal, feel absolutely horrible, and I'm like, God, you ate more than me. I can only imagine how shitty you feel. And then I have to remind myself, like, they're used to this. They are used to that shitty fucking feeling.
For me now, when I go out to eat, if there's not a steak on the menu, like I probably just won't go eat
Really?
or go out. Because for me, the only thing at this point that's part of my diet that I'm willing to spend money on when I go out is a steak. And that's just
It's
I I've really have like cleaned up a lot of my intake and my food to like where I eat pretty clean.
So, what are the majority? I guess the top 5 or 6 foods you eat on a daily basis.
It's really basic. I eat eggs in the morning. I eat my Dave's Killer bread throughout the day. I eat
Dude,
avocados.
that bread though, oh, it's
It's
amazing.
so good. It is so good.
I just
Like,
had I just had 4 fried eggs and 3 slices of the bread before we started.
yeah, I literally had it like I made a sandwich with the egg muffin ones and I put some eggs and avocado on there. So that's what I made this morning. And then I'll do like fruit smoothies. You've seen
Okay,
those that I've sent you. I'll do like chia pudding. I drink almond
never
milk.
tried that.
It's
Now,
pretty
almond
good.
milk's good. Now, almond milk is amazing because regular milk kills my stomach.
Yeah, so I'm lactose intolerant. So I'm lactose intolerant with a previous ice cream addiction. So that was fun to break, but now I don't even eat any kind of dairy. I make my own almond milk. I'll make my own oat milks now.
Okay,
I eat oatmeal, rolled oats whenever I feel like it. Not too often anymore. I eat chicken, shrimp, edamame is a big one because of protein. And pretty much anything with high protein is what I'm eating. And within that, I've actually been really good somehow with like really limiting carbs. And I don't mean to do it. It's just I eat a lot of nuts too.
okay. So you have a high fat, high protein diet then, and
Yeah.
your carbs are lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
My carbs are very low, but I would say it's definitely like a high fat, high protein.
I said it's different for everybody. If I have a higher fat diet, I feel like absolute death. I have to have a higher protein, higher carb diet.
See, I think I have to limit my carbs because of my ADHD. Oh yeah, with that, my diet also, over the past month, I couldn't have my meds, so it's been a real challenge. But with that, I will say I noticed how much better and less triggers I've had. And my mom brought it up, and she was like, "Well, you do know that they do say that a big trigger is carbs and sugar and food, and or sugars, processed foods." And she's like, "And you've cut all that out, so you should be much better."
Hmm.
And it was true. Like, it honestly has helped a lot with limiting that. And then a few weeks ago, I actually went to a birthday party and I was like, I'm breaking my diet. And I was only going to break my diet because you should. You should. Like,
Right. A
there's no
lot
reason to always be strict, but you should break it from time to time.
a lot of people say it helps with mental stability.
Well, maybe if you're not ADHD, because I went and I had nothing but cakes and I had
Oh
chocolate ones.
God.
There was red velvet ones. There was or no, there wasn't the raspberry ones. Sorry. We just talk about them at work. The lemon ones, the birthday cake one, and I ate a lot of them. But
Oh
I
God.
felt drunk for like
Really?
3 days. Like I was on such a sugar high for like 3 or 4 days. Like you could go look at my social media that weekend. I was popping off. Like, I had no meds, ate all this sugar, and it was just like I felt drunk for 4 days,
See,
but it was just sugar, and I don't drink, so it was
it was
great.
it was crazy. You were telling me about like the meds and you're having a hard time. There's a national shortage. I'm like, good God, there's no way. I opened up
It's
TikTok
been
the
so rough.
I opened up TikTok the next day and it's nothing but people talking about the medication, how they can't get it, and all this other stuff. I'm like, are you serious?
It's rough.
I still
Yeah.
can't believe that. It's
I
a, it's almost like you wonder: is it purposely being done, or is it like, what's the
I
real
think it
reason?
I think that there's been a huge uptick in diagnosis for it because it is a trending thing that people are talking about on social media with like even myself, like over the past few years I've become super open about my own struggles, and that's because it presents itself so much different in women than it does men, and there's always such limited education about it that I feel like in a way I'm almost like a poster child for women because I was diagnosed later as a kid. Like I wasn't diagnosed until like I think
Okay,
16, 15 or 16. So with that, I also managed a very long time without meds. And then when I was only on meds for about 2 years, and then I went off of them the entire time I was in the military, and it wasn't until about 5 years ago I went back on them, and life is 1,000 times better with them.
Really?
So, yeah, like, I'm just able to get things done. Like, the first day I got my meds back, I was able to take care of errands and just do things. Like, it's the strangest thing, and it just, like, there's days where my ADHD just literally causes me to sit on my couch and dissociate. I will be ready to go, but I will sit there and be like, "Oh, I need to do this." And I want to go do it, and I keep telling my body to get up and go do it, but I get distracted and I start just diving into something that I don't need to, and then I spend 13 hours. And then it's just bedtime.
I couldn't
But
even imagine.
when I take my meds, I'm actually able to do everything I need to do because yeah, I don't start focusing on things I'm not supposed to. Or another big one is I wear headphones a lot to listen to music while I'm just like doing things around my house. Over
Uh-huh.
the past month, like I can't tell you how many times my I would turn on my sink because I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do dishes, and then I'd get distracted because something else, and then 20 minutes I just let my water run.
Really?
Oh, it's so frustrating. Like it's hard. And then with that, you get frustrated at yourself. So there's also this internal dialogue that I tell myself where I'm just like, why'd you just do this? Like, you know how much money that's going to cost? Like, and it's bad. My internal dialogue could get bad. But
Huh.
through therapy, I've learned to not feed that and start telling myself it's okay. You just forgot it. Turn it off. Who cares? This is why you work your job is so you could pay these
Right.
things.
See, I could not imagine being on medication, finding that new happy place, and just boom, they're gone. And it takes a while to get them back. You go through these ups and downs, and then you have to start to level yourself back off again. Like,
Miserable.
I,
Miserable.
I could only imagine it'd be one hell of a roller coaster.
It was miserable. Cried a lot about exactly that because it's what I told my mom, and my words to her were, I know I have the tools and the ability to manage, but I wasn't prepared and planning for this to happen.
Yeah,
That my world literally got rocked because I focus on so much to be better that when I know it's time to come off meds, I will come off of them
right.
if that time ever happens, but I wasn't prepared to come off of my meds for 30 days or 25 days at all.
I,
Like,
I
I
could
need my
see
meds to function.
I could see how a conscious decision to come off or knowing that you're going to come off would make a huge difference.
Yeah, and then being told, like, I would have my meds, like, at first, they were like, "Oh, it's only, like, 8 days." Cool. No worries. I can manage for 8 days. But then that 8 days happened, and it went from being processing to being filled to completely out of stock again. Everything just felt like, again, no light at the end
So
of the tunnel, like,
so
it's
you had
almost
a
depression
so
almost.
you had a glimmer of hope. They started to make it look like you were going to get it, and then said, "No, you're not whatsoever."
Yeah. Yeah, and
Oh
that's
boy,
another struggle with it
I would
because
assume that made everything even
oh,
worse.
it absolutely did. 100% did.
Jeez. See, I'm well. I guess the opposite right now. I'm taking a medication for migraines, and it's causing severe cognitive issues to where I I've went to school and I've done a lot of construction work. I'm in the process of remodeling the house. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'll stand there for 20 minutes not knowing why I'm in a room, what I'm doing, how to do it. And I have to research the simplest of things just because it's like I know this, but it's gone. Like
See,
it is
for me, like,
insane.
I'll walk into rooms and just completely forget what I was doing or where I am, but I don't necessarily forget how to do things once I remember what I was doing.
Okay.
But, like, I'll walk in places and I'll even have something in my hands and I'll be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go do my dishes," and then I get to go do my dishes, and then I'll put my dish down, and then I don't even wanna say something shiny because I hate that stigma and that, "Ooh, shiny," because it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Like, I'll just get a thought and be like, "Oh, yeah, it's autumn. I need to go carve my pumpkin," and just go carve my pumpkin right then and there.
and
And then I'll
so
stop carving my pumpkin. when I go get the supplies because I'll grab a knife and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to go do my dishes, and then I'll finish my
No.
dishes.
And now, so the medications that you're on now, they kind of smooths all that out and helps with all of this right now.
For the most part.
Okay.
For the most part.
Now, did you have a lot of trial and error to get the right medication and dosage
As
to
a
help?
kid, yes. As a kid, I went to a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and they worked together, and I went on like several different types of meds and dosages. And from there, they pinpoint that what I'm on now is, or actually, what I'm on now is actually different than what I was on then. What I was on then was much more and much more intense. And through discussing what I remember as a kid experiencing, I've been able to find the right medication for me and dosage. And at
So with
first, like I've been struggling because I want to up my dosage, and my doctor's like, "Hey, let's try something else." And then she found out I actually have a vitamin D deficiency, because my thing is there's times where I just don't feel motivated and I just
uh
can't do anything. And she was like, "Well, let's check vitamin D because that actually sounds like it might be something with that." And she did test it, and my levels were low.
and I think that is more recent. Within I think the past 3 years, I heard a coach, a fitness coach, actually put out some research about vitamin D, and
It's
now
big.
if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look at it again. But don't they now consider that a hormone? I thought.
So vitamin D also helps regulate your thyroid, and
Okay,
that the thyroid helps. I think that
because I
thyroids
know
do something with
with weight, I know it's
hormones.
a lot with weight loss.
Yeah, it is with weight loss
Um,
and
I forgot everything else that goes in energy as well.
energy, and that's what I was struggling with, is my
Okay,
energy and motivation and just not doing anything. And my doctor's like, it's probably giving you meds isn't going to give that to you. But to me, knowing that untreated with my ADHD that I experienced depression, for me, I kind of group motivation and energy with depression.
gotcha.
So that's where in my mind, oh, I need to go talk to my doctor about getting on new meds. And she's like, no, let's test you for vitamin D. And world of a difference since being on it.
No, do you just take like
Like,
a capsules, or what do you do?
so I take twice a week, I think it's 50,000 units twice a week.
Okay,
And
okay.
I've been doing that since about May. And it's improved my life so much. But I also live in Nebraska, where I don't get as much sun as where I once lived and grew up in. But I do try more to get out in the sun now than I probably have ever.
Now, now, when you were younger and you were going through all the trial and errors of all the medications to finally pick one that worked, did you have any issues or ill effects or whatnot with the medications?
Yeah. So there's been that, like, looking back now, I'm like, dude, I was so high, like in school. Like, what? Because I had to go to school, I had to play my sports, like, even throughout, like, testing all of this. So, like, I remember, like, looking back, and I just remember, like, some classes where I'd show up on those days of testing, and I'd be like this, just straight zombie.
Really?
Nothing. No expression, nothing, just zombied, but focused, lasered focus, like,
And
probably
all that
scared people.
and all that treatment was for ADHD?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've never looked into any of that. I have no clue if I have like ADHD. I did see psychiatrists and psychologists for depression, and they were trying to treat me for depression, went through several different medications. And from what I've learned, I have bad effects to a lot of them. One in particular made me extremely suicidal to like the point where
May I ask which
I
one?
broke down. It might have been Wellbutrin.
Interesting, okay.
And yeah, it was horrible because it was like,
Which
oh yeah,
one what is the Zoloft one? Because I hear a lot of negative
oh
about
god,
Zoloft.
isn't that for depression as
Yeah,
well?
it's for
Anxiety,
depression. I'm just trying to think what the generic
maybe.
name is, because I don't know if it's Wellbutrin, but
I'm not sure.
I was also on antidepressants a few years ago
Oh really?
myself. Well, I don't know if it's an antidepressant, or I went to the doctor because I was having really bad depression, and I was put on, fluoxetine or Prozac,
Mm.
and it really helped me. It really got me out of a place that I've never been that scared in my life. Like, probably the deepest, darkest time of my life, like scariest moment. Really sad. Like I just remember I was actually going to the doctor because I realized like there's something not right and there's nothing I'm going to do to get me out of this hole I'm in mentally and just physically. Like I would just sit on the couch on my days off and just watch TV for hours in darkness.
Really?
And I was okay with that. And like there's a scene in the show Made where the girl is just like sinking into the couch, and obviously she feels that way because she's being in an abusive domestic relationship, and it's not, I don't want to say that that's what I was in, but that's how I felt, like my depression. Like if there was a way to describe how depressed I felt, I literally would just sit on my couch. My couch would just swallow me in a
Really?
way. And the day I was supposed to go see my doctor, I remember having a panic attack right before, and I was just like, I'm not going to go. And then I remember crying and being like, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And that scared the shit out of me is when I said that in my brain and I heard it come out like in my brain, and I was just like, I have to go. And I texted one of my friends and I was like, I'm struggling. And she's like, you better get here. You need meds. And I was like, I'm on my way. And then I get to the doctor and it was just like, oh, how you doing? What's going on a scale of 1 to 10? How depressed are you? And I just went, like, let me tell you. And she's
Really?
like, okay, we're going to get you on meds. It's going to take a little
Jeez.
bit. It's going to take a little bit for them to get in. So
See,
continue like,
I was never able to take anything for like depression and anxiety long enough to see if it would help because it caused everything to be so much worse that I couldn't take it and I couldn't go through that.
so I went on these meds and I want to say I was on them for a good year and a half.
Hmm.
But life and I myself, I started to feel so good that I was just like, "Oh, this is great." But then after a while, it's okay. When I was on them, I was losing a lot of weight. Like at that point, I think I was a size 2 and I think I was at my lowest weight,
Oh,
which
geez.
I was at, I think 134 if I remember right, which I'm not even that small now, and I hope to never be that small, but I hope to not be that small. I hope to be more muscular. Because
Yeah.
that was gross. Um, well, the other part is that you never hear anyone talk about is when you lose weight, like you bump into doors and you bump into things. And I have no spatial awareness because ADHD. And so I'll just bump into shit all the time. So I just get random bruises and it hurts. It hurts a lot. And that's one thing I remember, like when I was that small, is just every doorknob I would hit and I just had bruised hips like
Good God.
nonstop. It's miserable. And then my hands also get bruised a lot from just like hitting doors. Yeah, one time I actually had to go, I had to call out of work and go get my hand x-rayed because I hit my hand on my door frame so
Good
hard
God.
that it swelled up, bruised immediately, and I was like, "Hey manager, I think I broke my hand." And he's like, "How?" And I was like, "Walking through a door." And he's like, "Go to the doctor." And I was like, "I am." So I did.
Is that one of those typical Chrissy moments?
Yeah, life is rough. Life is rough for Chrissy.
Oh
People
God, it
don't know
is.
it.
It
People
is.
don't know how rough my life is. And nothing has to be wrong. Like nothing has to be even going on, and it's just rough.
Yeah.
The sun likes to point a different way in my world.
Do you think it's getting that way for a lot of people with, well, first everything that happened in 2020 and now this potential depression and what is there elections are in a couple weeks, right? Aren't there major elections
Yeah,
coming up, I
big
guess?
time. I'm worried.
Like I wonder how the world's going to change for a lot of people now coming up.
I hope. I hope it gets better for everybody. And I
Yeah.
mean that, and I truly mean that. Like I hope I like my wish is just that we could all just find love and happiness, but it's not even that. I just wish people like my wish for people is just live judgment free. Like you live for yourself
Eh,
and whatever is good for you should be good for you. Like why would something that's good for me be good for you? And why do I have to force that on you?
right. Right. No, and I agree completely. Like if people were to do that with everything, with religion, with race, with the gender stuff. I mean, when I say that, I mean all the gender stuff and sexualities. It's like just people let people do what they want to do, and that's that. And I guarantee everybody would get along.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely, and, like, I have a real negative view of religion for myself, but when it comes to my friends, like, I support them going to religion, and I want them to, like everybody needs that. Everybody needs something.
I honestly only think I know one person, especially in our age, that's religious. Like
See,
the
but for
most,
me, with that being said, um, religion also kind of breeds really terrible people, and if you're just a terrible person, I'm not gonna be your friend too. So, there's also that fine line.
yeah, I don't know.
I can only treat somebody with love and show them how I live with love for so long before you just have to realize that they're just not gonna learn, and it's not your job to teach them.
Right. No, I have realized though, growing up, that a lot of the more judgmental people I have ever heard were the more religious people. The ones that went to church all the time were some of the most judgmental people. And it's like they would speak, and I'm like, holy shit, I thought you're supposed to be a good person, yet this is how you really
It's
feel?
real ugly.
It's like,
It's
how the hell?
ugly.
Like, how the hell does that happen?
And, like, just people saying, like, from, like, as a kid, "Oh, they're homosexual, they deserve to be in hell." Like, hell is supposed to be the worst of the worst. And just because somebody loves differently than how you love, you think that
Well,
they should be, like, ripped apart and fired, because that's, in my opinion, what hell is, because that's what I was
yeah.
told as a kid.
But now I'm going to play somewhat devil's advocate on that topic. I
Badum-tsh.
so I sort of hold on. I sort of understand, but I don't. Now, growing up, when I was younger, like we said, the homosexuality, all that stuff was frowned upon when we were younger. So growing up, I always thought it was kind of bad, or I thought it was against religion, and I always had somewhat of a negative outlook
Me
towards it.
too.
And I'm like, well, is that programming? Are the people mentally broken? Like, what's there's something wrong with the people. As I got older, I'm like, people like what they like. Like, it is what it is. If it's a mental illness, it's a mental illness. It is what it is. If it's they just have that attraction, they just have that attraction. Let the people be. If they are not affecting your life, let it go. And
Mhm.
I don't think enough people get out of the programming that they have from society or what's around them to have their own views. I think people are scared to have their own views, to look outside the box or look at it from a different angle.
I think when it comes to religion and people, I think a lot of people in shame, people project a lot. And even myself, I was raised to think that being gay was bad and being terrible, but it's who I am at the end of the day. And now pretty much everybody supports me and they tell me they love me and they're just so happy for me, but I remember everything.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, yes, I agree people grow and people change. However, I still remember that. So when people say something that is borderline where I'm just like, "You still believe this?
I mean,
You're only telling me this because you care about me, and that's not okay for me."
I mean,
And even with myself growing up, I projected a lot because I didn't know that I was gay, and I was taught that it's bad. So I did my own fair share of bullying on people, and, like,
yeah.
I regret that, but I hope that most of everybody that, 1, I was bullied by and that is bullied or was bullied by even myself, we're all gay now. So I hope, yeah, we all had a miserable time growing up. It was effing miserable. However, through growth, I understand the environments. Environments breed different types of people, and when you get out of your environment and you're able to grow, that's what I care about is the person after the growth.
Right.
And if I don't see any type of growth within a person, even if it's been 10 years, 3 months, like, if I don't see any type of growth with you, I just cut you off, and I'm just like, "You're not ready. You're not ready to human in my world." My world's small.
But I'm sure it's
I throw
common
people out of my
because
world.
But I'm sure it's common because not many people want to grow or believe that they've been wrong for so long on how they look and judge people.
No, absolutely. And like even myself, I used to be so different, like little submissive Chrissy, just little submissive Chrissy, just do whatever I'm told. And now here I am. You don't tell me what to do, I tell you what to do, and I kick you out of my world quick. Like I got some boundaries. Respect them.
But
Respect my mind.
how much happier would people be in society if that's how they were?
I'm gonna tell you how much happier I am. Like I'm shitting rainbows and sunshines at this point. Like
I mean, a lot of the topics that we talk about on here, like I don't know, a year, 2 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not having that topic. I don't want people to judge me or family disown me. Now it's like, man, fuck you. I'm talking about what I want to talk about.
no, literally. And like but that also comes from my family growing and my family and I having those tough talks um, throughout the past few years. Like, for sure, like my family has done their own fair share of growing. Like, my parents aren't religious anymore. And I think to me, that's a big step for me is for them because I always felt that the only reason they were saying those things was because of religion and fitting into
Probably.
that society. Because my parents would always say things where they're like, "Oh, we support," and then they would flip it and be like, "Oh, being gay is bad." And so it left me like confused, never knowing what to do. But then they would always tell me like, "Hey, we love you if you're ready to come out, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "I'm not coming out. Like, why would I come out? Being gay is bad.
Yeah.
They're just all my friends."
I don't know if my parents have ever said anything negative growing up about like gay people. I know my grandparents and great grandparents did, but
Well,
you,
you
I mean,
probably, I think from me growing up in California, it's obviously there's more of a gay popular or population, not
population, yeah.
popularity. Um,
Well, both. It's a lot more popular there, though,
it's a lot
isn't it?
popular there because of the population.
Yeah,
But because of that, and I think because of that is why it was talked about as a kid, like for
gotcha.
me. And I remember Prop 8 being real big. And that to me was a big time where I really learned a lot about people and who they are. And then even when I came out with my girlfriend or my ex-girlfriend, sorry, ex-girlfriend a few years ago, when I came out and like people said some real terrible shit to me and they're not people I care about anymore.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, you're not happy for me. You don't want me to be happy or live my best life.
yeah,
And part of loving me is loving who I'm with.
exactly. You know, one of the main things that I think changed the way I look at it and view a lot of it is Joe Rogan. I was listening to one of his like motivational things like 7 or 8 years ago, and he was actually talking about divorce and stuff like that. And he was like,
That's a fun topic.
"Oh God, it's." I think I think another topic I'm gonna try to do a podcast I want to do is get with people that have been divorced and going through custody battles and talk about some of those things with people.
Why don't we talk about divorced children and things that we go through?
Oh God,
I got a lot
be
of experience.
it's it is tough, and I think we can have that conversation one day.
Yeah, I think we should. I think that might be fun.
But with the Joe Rogan thing I was listening to and talking about divorce was like you can't control a person's emotions. Like if you were to divorce me and you were to find another man, that is just how you feel. You can't control your emotions, and I firmly believe that. Like if you walk into a room and you find somebody attractive and you want to marry that person, you can't help it. It is what it is. It's destiny or fate or people just have a drive towards certain things for unknown reasons. And I really do and I'm learning and seeing that sexuality is the same way. It's
So,
just,
one thing I like to tell myself is it's not mine. And I think I'm going to actually get that quote tattooed on me somewhere. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Half the time I just talk. Um, no, but I want it. because it's not mine is something that I resonate with because it's not mine to hold on to. It's not my responsibility for how you behave. Like it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what I want on me is because I think that that one quote has gotten me through so much and just learning to be myself and just being a better person is realizing it's not my responsibility for being honest and saying what I need to and respecting my boundaries and it's not my responsibility for how you behave after that or what
Yeah.
you say after that. It's not my responsibility for how you perceive me. It's not my responsibility for who you think I am. And it's not my responsibility to live up to that.
You could almost live by that phrase with everything in life.
You can.
You're driving your car, somebody cuts you off. Oh, it's not my fault. I mean, they're having a
Not
bad day.
my not my
Whatever their
monkeys, not
issue
my
is,
circus.
yeah, it's like whatever their deal is their deal. I'm gonna go my own way and like not let it
Roll it
bother
off your
you.
back.
Yeah.
Like that saying, like it's not my farm or not my pigs, not my farm, not my monkeys, not my circus. Like all of
Yeah.
those literally rent free in my head all day. Because there's been a lot throughout my life where like I do hold on to other people's aggressions, other people's things, but I don't anymore. Where like if I see if I'm getting food somewhere and someone's being rude, I'm not gonna match you with energy. Like, and
Yeah.
I hate people where they're like, "Oh, I match energy," blah blah. No, I
For
don't.
what?
I'm gonna treat you completely with love and respect because I know at those times when I've been that person and I've been stuck in those ruts, if people were nice to me, maybe it would have given me that light to get out of it and
I
see
mean,
that, oh,
it's not easy living that way at all. It's
it's
very, very
not.
hard.
And people don't realize like the energy you put out is what you get. And
Yeah.
with that, I do think that when people are going through a hard time, they're stressed, they're miserable and internally, and that projects. And from that projection, they get that energy back from other people. And I think
Yeah.
it's people have to learn how to put up like little shields around themselves of energy and love. Like honestly, like it sounds really dumb or like crazy to some people, but like I literally picture myself when I go out, like in a bubble of white love surrounding me because I'm sure you've seen Twilight and you know when she puts up like her little like shield things, like that's literally what
Yeah.
I picture like when
No,
people get around me, like get out, one, get out of my bubble, and two, it's all love
speaking
here.
speaking of like what time is it over there where you're at? Do you have a clock or anything?
It's 11:58. Yeah, I have a clock. I have an
It's
Apple Watch.
it's 12.
11:58. Yeah.
Oh God, so it's 1 o'clock here. I got like 5 more minutes and I have to go pick up a kiddo.
Do you have
But
to pick them up? Can you just leave them there?
yeah, I wish. Trust me, I wish.
Oh my God. No, you don't.
Sometimes I do. Good God. Well, I have to pick up one at 1:15, come home, let her pee, and then pick up the other one at 2:45.
Let her
It's a
be.
mess. Anyways. So the last question I have. Speaking of all the energy and like being in your own bubble, do you think you can control the energy of a room or an environment?
I can only control mine.
You don't think you can control the energy of a room?
No, that's putting too much responsibility on me.
Is it responsibility though?
Remember my saying, it's not mine? It's not my
Well, true,
responsibility to do that.
true, true. But so try. Okay,
So, like my space, like my apartment, yes, I do feel like I can control the energy within these walls and in my own space. But if somebody else were to come into this space, I burn my sage right after they leave.
so have you ever seen? It's an experiment. So you'll get a group of like 5 people. One person starts laughing. They laugh uncontrollably. A couple seconds, minutes later, everybody's laughing, just because one
Oh,
person started laughing.
oh, oh, you want to talk about this? When I'm miserable, I'll make everybody miserable. When I'm
So I
happy,
mean,
everybody
I
will be
do think,
happy.
I do
So yeah,
think that you can, to an
I think
extent,
I think I can
control it.
control. I think I have more power than people give me credit for. Like, it's bad. Like, and I'm sure you've been around it before. Like, when I'm in a shit mood, I will make sure everybody else around me is in a shit mood.
Yeah,
And when I'm happy, I do everything I can to make everyone else around me happy. And
yeah.
so, yeah, maybe I can control energy, but again, through growth and learning, it's not my responsibility to do that to people.
Very
It's not
true.
my responsibility to make people happy. It's not my responsibility to make you mad. It's my job to make myself happy so I could be better for people when they're not happy.
You know, the hardest part about this podcast is finding a title for this. We've talked about so
Growth
much. Yeah, I mean,
from shame to love. I don't know.
no, I will be honest. After these conversations, I do realize that I have grown, and I wouldn't even say grown to accept, but grown to realize things about myself, about other people, that I haven't really realized, like how I used to like look negatively upon homosexuality because that's how I was kind of raised, to where it's like it is what the fuck it is. Like, I think that's a lot of growth, to where a lot of people that are young and they are programmed to hate homosexuality grow up to be the be bullies and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Because they haven't grown.
They haven't grown and they probably struggle themselves with something they enjoy. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and kink shame or list out kinks, but everybody has their kinks, everybody likes certain things, and I don't understand why we have to be mad at somebody else for that. And usually the people that are mad about it are ones that want to do it that aren't doing it because
Yeah,
they're too shameful to
that's.
do it.
I can see that definitely being an issue there, for sure. Huh? That's a good way to end it.
That actually, yeah, I think that is.
Well, all right.
Well,
So
it's
I,
been a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the
Anytime.
topic. I mean, it's cool to be able to talk about these things without drama and fighting and being able to learn and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's hard
Absolutely.
because it's hard. Like, I don't know a lot. I don't really know a lot of people that are, I guess, aren't like me. So it's like, how do you have these conversations without being rude or coming off as judgmental when you're just curious deep down inside?
You just have to be nice and be loving and welcome people in. Like, honestly, welcome people into your life. Like, you don't go up to people and be like, hey, why are you like this?
Yeah.
No, you invite them into your life, you be friends with them, and then you learn who they are. And through that, I think is where you understand other people and
More
you learn
people
about them.
more people need to have these conversations, I think. And just be
I think more
open.
people just need therapy and to grow and
Oh
understand what's
god.
their responsibility and what's not theirs.
Yeah. We we all need Jesus.
No, we don't. That's the problem.
All
Not really,
right.
not necessarily,
All
but
right.
you know, we
I
know
gotta
where we
pick I gotta pick up kids. Bye.
at. All right.